Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Facebook Live. I am pharmacist Benjamin Knight Fuchs, formulator of Truth Skin Health products, and today I want to talk about milia. Milia are little hard bumps that form under the skin, and we get lots of questions on them. I'm trying to see how I can find you guys, if anybody's up and about. Let's see. They changed Facebook Live here, and I can't really even tell if anybody's on, but I'm going to get going here. It's like we got one viewer. Oh, I'd say no, there you guys are. They change every so often. They change the way Facebook Lives are done, and as soon as I figure out how to do it, they change it again. So they changed it this week, and hopefully this is coming through well. Hi Linda, hi Fatima, and hi Kim. So we get lots of questions about milia, M-I-L-I-A, milia. These are hard bumps that form on the skin, typically around the eyes, on the eyelids. They can happen really anywhere on the face, really anywhere in the body. Infants will get them, and postmenopausal women will get them, and they're associated with certain kinds of nutritional deficiencies, which we'll talk about here in a second. Milia are technically cysts. They're hard cysts, hard little bumps. Sometimes people will call them milk spots because they kind of look, or milk drops. They kind of look like, they're whitish and they kind of look like milk. And they're very frustrating. There's nothing really dangerous about them. They're a little bit of cosmetically unappealing. Hi, Don. But there's nothing really dangerous about them. What's most important about milia, hard cysts, some people actually call them tumors, is the underlying cause. The underlying nutritional deficiencies that are associated with them may lead to other problems. You want to use milia, like a lot of skin conditions, you want to use milia as kind of a portal into the inside of the body, into the biochemistry of the body. It's kind of like a sign, like a red flag, something that you want to address at the causal level so that you don't get into, run into health challenges that are associated with the deficiencies, the nutritional deficiencies, and the digestive problems that are the real cause of these benign cysts or benign tumors. So milia, yes, I will talk about Cushing. That's a good question, Laurel. Cushing's disease is an adrenal issue caused by excess cortisol. So milia has to be considered as a hyperproliferative state. That means cells are dividing too rapidly. When these cells divide too rapidly, the protein that they secrete, it's called keratin. It's a hard protein, like a rhinoceros's horn, or like your fingernails, or like hooves on a horse. This same protein, this keratin protein, is very hard. It can get trapped inside of a follicle in a pore, and this trapping can result in a hard bump that will form as skin cells grow over the protein or the skin cells that are dividing rapidly. So when these proteins get trapped underneath overgrowing skin cells, you'll feel a hard bump. So what's the problem? What's the issue? It's the hypergrowth, the hyperproliferation. As I said, a lot of health challenges are associated with hyperproliferation. Psoriasis is a classic example of a hyperproliferative skin condition. Cancer is a hyperproliferative condition. Acne involves hyperproliferation, and milia also involves hyperproliferation. You see, cells default into growth. Stabilizing the growth of cells takes work, and it takes nutrition. It takes nourishment. Under conditions of nutritional deficiencies, particularly with fats, under conditions of nutritional deficiencies of fatty vitamins and essential fatty acids, cells can overdivide. They can hyperproliferate. And so the real issue when you have milia, as well as other hyperproliferative states, is number one, intake of fatty micronutrients, fatty vitamins especially, and also essential fatty acids, and correcting digestive problems that may lead to malabsorption of fatty nutrients. For example, if you have a gallbladder issue, or if you had your gallbladder removed, you're going to be more prone towards these hyperproliferative states. If you have a liver problem, if you have an intestinal problem, if you have a pancreatic issue, if you have a stomach issue, all of these can result in malabsorption of vitamin A, vitamin D, essential fatty acids, minerals like zinc and selenium, and these nutritional deficiencies can lead to subsequent health problems and subsequent skin problems. This is what I was saying earlier, is how if you have, for example, just to give you an example of a deficiency that can cause milia, vitamin A deficiency, yeah, the milia may be troublesome, a milia that's caused by the vitamin A deficiency, but you're running higher risks for other health challenges that are associated with vitamin A deficiency, including immune issues, eye issues, liver issues, etc. So correcting the digestive and nutritional deficiencies, digestive problems and nutritional deficiencies that underlie milia can not only help you with your milia, but they can also help you with other health issues. So, or help prevent other health issues down the road. Hi, Robert. Hi, Susan. So, yes, postmenopause. Linda says postmenopause. She has postmenopause and she has milia. Very common because as women get older, they don't absorb fats as well. So I'll tell you what you do here. Number one, and I'll tell you some topical strategies for getting rid of milia too, because there are some topical things you can do. From a nutritional standpoint, number one, if you have milia, regard it as a fat malabsorption or digestive problem. That's the first thing to do. And it's very common. So even if you don't notice anything dramatic with your digestive system, just kind of assume that you have some malabsorption problems. Start working on your intestine. Use probiotics and prebiotics. Eat fermented food. Prebiotics are fiber, basically, that help feed probiotics. We talked about flaxseed a couple of weeks ago. Grinding up flax seeds, doing flaxseed powder functions as a great prebiotic to support bacteria in the intestine, to support the probiotics. And then you want to use a good probiotic supplement. Probiotic supplements are notoriously tricky. Probiotics are not like vitamins. They're not like minerals. They're not like ordinary nutritional supplements because probiotics are alive. They're living creatures. So number one, you've got to store them a certain way, although some of them come protected so you don't have to store them in the refrigerator, but most of them you have to store in the fridge. Number two, the formulas, the probiotic formulas will vary. And some people will get benefits from some formulas, other people will get benefits from other formulas. So you got to play around with the brands and the formulas a little bit. And you also have to play around with the dose. Some people will benefit from 10 billion units a day. Other people will benefit from 20 billion units a day. Other people need 30 billion units a day. You'll have to play around with both the dose and the brand. Fermented food is a great way to get natural probiotics. And with fermented food, fermented veggies especially, you'll get enzymes. So fermented cabbage, sauerkraut, fermented beets, fermented cucumbers. Fermented veggies will give you the bacteria, and they'll also give you the fiber that you get from the vegetables. You'll also get enzymes, and you'll also get acid for helping with the digestive system, helping you digest food at the level of the stomach. So fermented foods are great. Get a book called The Art of Fermentation, and it teaches you how to make your own fermented vegetables. Not that it's very difficult. It's pretty simple to do. You just basically add starter bacteria to your veggies and cover it up for a couple of days, and you got yourself some sauerkraut or fermented carrots or whatever kind of veggies you're doing. But The Art of Fermentation is a really cool book that has some good recipes and explains the whole concept. Apple cider vinegar is also a great way to acidify digestive contents if you have fat malabsorption issues. If you have, you're not producing enough stomach acid, a condition called achlorhydria or hypochlorhydria, when your food drops out of your stomach into your intestine, if that food has not been acidified because you're not making enough stomach acid, bile, which is required for the absorption of fats, is not going to get triggered. Under ordinary circumstances, you eat food, the acid in the stomach helps you digest the food, and then that acidified food, that crushed up acidified food in the stomach, it's called chyme, C-H-Y-M-E, drops into the intestine, and it's got a low pH because it's been saturated with acid if you're healthy, and it drops into the intestine from the stomach, and that acid triggers bile from the gallbladder. And that's what's supposed to happen. But if the food is not acidified because you're not making enough stomach acid, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get that big hit of bile or pancreatic enzymes for that matter. You may not be able to liberate your fatty substances, your fatty nutrients from foods, in which case you could run into deficiencies. And this is why fat malabsorption occurs. One of the reasons why fat malabsorption occurs. So acidifying the contents of the stomach is important. You can use fermented veggies to do it, or you can also use apple cider vinegar, or even get hydrochloric acid made for you by a pharmacist with a prescription. Also, for the fat absorption, for fat malabsorption issues, you want to use things like lecithin granules, or bile salts. These can both help you break down fats and help you absorb fatty nutrients from food. There's another one I was going to tell you about, bile salts. lecithin. The amino acid taurine, Taurine, is important for the production of bile, so that's important. If you're on a statin drug, you may not be making bile as effectively, so that's something else to consider. Let's see if there's anything else for fat malabsorption. I'm sure I'm missing something, but that's a good start for you. And then, in addition to correcting digestive problems for fat malabsorption, you want to start supplementing with fatty nutrients. Zinc is super important. Vitamin A is probably the most important of the fatty nutrients for the skin, and vitamin A works in conjunction with vitamin D. We talked last week about vitamin D. You might want to get on our review our Facebook Lives or our YouTube page for all that information. I gave some pretty good information about vitamin D. We talked last week about how vitamin D is a hormone, and it's like vitamin A in that sense. Vitamin D is super confusing, but basically speaking, vitamin A upregulates the body's ability to deal with stresses. One of the things that happens under conditions of vitamin D deficiency and vitamin A deficiency is cells will hyperproliferate. They'll grow too fast. Vitamin D and vitamin A are both said to be normalizing vitamins. That is, they can normalize the growth of things. If cells are growing too slow, they can speed up the growth of cells. If cells are growing too fast, they can slow them down. They have like an ability to, they're intelligent vitamins, they're hormones really. They're intelligent nutrients that can stabilize the growth of cells. And under conditions of milia or acne, you have hyperproliferation. Both vitamin D and vitamin A can slow down the growth of cells. So if you're dealing with milia, or for that matter, acne or psoriasis or any other hyperproliferative condition, vitamin A and vitamin D can also be very helpful. Vitamin A and vitamin D, by the way, are both anti-cancer. In fact, vitamin A, Retin A, is actually used as chemotherapy for its ability to slow down the growth of cells. I will answer all your questions. Seems like you're got all kinds of questions here. So I'll answer all your questions here momentarily. All right, so from an internal perspective, you want to work on digestion, fat malabsorption. From a nutritional micronutrient perspective, you want to make sure you're using vitamin A, vitamin D, and zinc, and also anything that helps you with fat malabsorption, like lecithin and bile salts, etc. And then there are things that you can do topically for milia. And the things that you do topically for milia are much the same as the things you would do topically for acne. Milia isn't exactly acne, but they're both caused by this hyperproliferative condition where skin cells and keratin and even sebum is moving really quickly. So a couple of things you can use. Retinol. Absolute must-have. Well, look, it's a must-have for everything with the skin. Just as a skin conditioning agent, as an anti-aging ingredient, and maybe I'll talk about retinol on our next Facebook Live. I absolutely love this stuff. I first learned about retinol and retinoic acid in pharmacy school when we learned that retinoic acid, which is the active form of vitamin A, is the only FDA-approved topical medication for treating and reversing and preventing wrinkles. And it's also used for acne. This is where that whole normalization effect kicks in. It speeds up the movement or the proliferation of skin cells, as well as the growth of collagen or the secretion of collagen. And it slows down skin cells if the skin cells are moving too quickly, and it slows down the secretion of keratin if the cells are dividing and they're producing too much protein. So it has this normalizing effect. Retinoic acid, of course, you could use that for treating milia. You can either dab the retinoic acid on, or you can use retinoic acid on a regular basis. Retinoic acid is the active ingredient in Retin A, of course. But if you don't want to go get a prescription, you don't want to deal with prescription Retin A, get retinol. Retinol is weaker than Retin A, or retinoic acid, I should say. And by the way, if you've heard the term tretinoin, tretinoin is the brand name for retinoic acid, which is the generic name. Retinoic acid is active vitamin A. Retinol is pre-vitamin A. In other words, retinol has to get turned into retinoic acid for activity to occur. Retinol is about 100 times weaker than retinoic acid. So if you have, you're using Retin A 0.05%, you do the math, multiply it out by 100, that's the equivalent of a retinol 5% topical. Now, of course, we have several retinol products, or retinol 5%. I wouldn't want to use that every day. Maybe for when you begin using our Truth Retinol products, Truth Retinol 5% gel, Probably start off maybe every 2 weeks, once every 2 weeks, work yourself into once a week and then maybe twice a week. Or even better, start off with Truth Retinol 1% gel and get a 15 ml size, a small size of that, and then get your skin used to retinol over the course of maybe 2 or 3 months. A retinol, small jar of retinol, Truth Retinol 1% gel will last you maybe 2 months or 3 months, maybe more, maybe 4 months, depending on how much you use and how much of your face or body, retinol is great for the body, you apply the product to. And then once you finish your Truth Retinol 1% gel, graduate to Truth Retinol 5% gel. Start off with maybe once every 10 to 14 days, and then work yourself into twice every 10 to 14 days, then twice every 7 days. Some people use our Truth Retinol 5% gel every other day. I wouldn't use it every day. I don't even use it every other day. I use it maybe once or twice a week, and it works great for me. So you'll have to kind of see where you're at with it. But as far as Milia goes, that will help stabilize the movement of those skin cells using retinol, and you can, number one, prevent the formation of new milia, and number two, you can eliminate current or old milia. Milia that you have on your skin can be eliminated by using retinol, either our Truth Retinol 5% gel or our Truth Retinol 1% gel dabbed right onto the milia, or you can use our retinol spot treatment, which I consider to be one of my most important products, but for some reason we don't sell a lot of it. It's super, super effective for milia, for acne. You can even use our retinol spot treatment on mosquito bites, because retinol has an ability to, in addition to slowing down the movement of cells, it can actually speed up the movement of cells if they need to be sped up. And moving things upwards from the bottom of the skin towards the top helps eliminate the toxins that are associated with mosquito bites and other bug bites. So retinol is a great way to treat a bug bite or a mosquito bite, our Truth Retinol spot treatment in particular. Of course, it's also great for hyperpigmentation. We'll talk about retinol on our next Facebook Live. So you can use retinol. We also have a daily retinol product that's 0.3% retinol, and you can use that one every day if you want to prevent milia. So retinol will both eliminate old milia and it will help prevent milia. Topically, you can also use salicylic acid. I love salicylic acid. Of course, our peppermint salicylic cleanser is a great way to dose your skin with salicylic acid, and our retinol spot treatment also has salicylic acid in it. Much like retinol, salicylic acid has a milia destroying or a milia healing effect on old milia, and also it will help eliminate the development of new milia. And then also along the same lines is our AHA energizing exfoliator, which is not salicylic acid, it's glycolic acid, and that can also help eliminate old milia and eliminate the development of new milia. So you've got lots of strategies there. There's one more thing I was going to tell you. Oh, vitamin D, of course. Vitamin D, topically, use vitamin D, or also internally, you can use vitamin D. You can take vitamin D supplements. You can use vitamin D topically. Interesting thing about vitamin D, we talked about this last week, is it actually is handled by the skin very well. And that's why you have vitamin A and D ointment that you can get for healing diaper rash and such, and various skin traumas, because of the ability that skin cells have to respond to topically applied vitamin D. Topically applied vitamin D analogs, prescription versions of vitamin D, are actually used to treat psoriasis. Again, demonstrating that the vitamin D or the vitamin D analog molecule is very well handled by the skin. Now, as far as supplementing with vitamin A and D goes, vitamin A is a great supplement, and everybody should be supplementing with 10 to 20,000 international units a day of vitamin A, especially if you have a skin problem. But it's just a great supplement in the sense that the body is very responsive to vitamin A. In fact, it's well known among pharmacists, and we study this in pharmacy school, that the cure, if I could say the word cure, the treatment for night blindness is vitamin A supplements. So vitamin A is very well handled by the body supplementally. 10 to 20,000 international units a day is a great place to be, especially if you have milia or a skin problem. Vitamin D is tricky. We talked about this last week. Vitamin D is not so well handled internally, and as far as a supplement goes, because it has to get absorbed into the blood through the intestine, and that doesn't always happen as well as it should. And then once it's in the bloodstream, it has to get activated by the kidneys, and then by the liver, and then by the kidneys. So vitamin D taken internally is not a great way to get your vitamin D. The best way to get your vitamin D is from the sun. Now, if you're trying to treat a skin problem by using vitamin D, obviously, if you get out in the sun, you're going to get local production of vitamin D, so your skin will be able to benefit from the vitamin D as well as from the sun. And we know that the skin benefits from the sun, despite what we hear in the media and in the mainstream medical model. The sun is awesome for the skin. Don't burn, of course. You don't want to do that. But making sure that your skin is exposed to the sun can have wonderful healing benefits. Plus, the locally produced vitamin D will help you with your skin. And vitamin D that we get from the sun is released into the bloodstream slowly. So it's a better way to get your vitamin D. The body doesn't like to have quick spikes of something and then have those ingredients, whether it's a nutritional supplement or a drug, drop down quickly. The body likes to have things nice and stable, not these ups and downs. And vitamin D that we get from the sun is released into the bloodstream much more stably. And of course, if you have fat malabsorption issues, you're not going to have to worry about that if you're getting your vitamin D from the sun. And just because you don't know you have a fat malabsorption issue doesn't mean you don't have one. A lot of us have digestive problems and we don't even realize we have digestive problems. A lot of people have malabsorption issues and they don't even know they have malabsorption issues. And unfortunately, conventional medicine it's just now changing. I have to say, it's changing over the last year or two, a couple of years. Modern medicine, the medical model, is starting to realize that the number one cause of systemic or bodily inflammation and inflammation is associated with all health challenges, including skin health challenges, is a leaky gut. And this is now becoming more and more recognized by the mainstream, but still it's not, the average physician or average healthcare professional doesn't necessarily know about this relationship. So a lot of people have not linked their autoimmune problem or their skin problem or their arthritis or their heart disease or their dementia to some kind of systemic inflammation that's coming in or being initiated by inflammatory factors that get into the bloodstream through the intestine. So we may not know we have leaky gut, we may not know we have fat malabsorption issues or digestive issues, but if you have milia or any other skin problem, just assume that you do. And even if you don't have a frank problem, a full-blown problem, it doesn't hurt to use digestive enzymes. That was what I forgot to mention, was digestive enzymes. Pancrease and lipase. ASE means enzyme. Lipase is fat-dissolving enzyme. Pancrease is pancreatic enzymes that help the body dissolve fat. So using pancrease and lipase, in addition to stomach acid, in addition to lecithin, in addition to bile salts, in addition to the amino acid taurine, in addition to prebiotics and probiotics, that's also a very important internal nutritional strategy for making sure you're getting your fatty nutrients. Essential fatty acids also are important, omega-3 and omega-6. Again, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago on a Facebook Live, so you can review that. And all of these are posted to YouTube. Okay, so nobody has to have milia. Like all skin conditions, they should be regarded as an internal or systemic problem first, and they should also be regarded as a shot across the bow or the canary in the coal mine that's announcing that you're on the way to other more serious health challenges. Milia isn't really serious, but it's an announcement that you may be on the road towards other health challenges. And so correcting milia at the causal level can actually increase your life. It can actually increase longevity and prevent further health misery that you may be on the way to incurring down the road. All right, so, and by the way, our Truth Retinol 5% gel and our Truth Retinol 1% gel are both made with 25% fat-soluble vitamin C. So they are by far and away the best topical way you're going to deliver retinol to your skin that you're going to find anywhere. There are retinol products that are now starting to show up in department stores, and you see them advertised, but they're always going to have a low concentration of retinol. They're not going to give you that big concentration that you really need to get benefits, and you're certainly not going to find fat-soluble vitamin C, 25% fat-soluble vitamin C in any other retinol product. So I definitely would suggest, if you're interested in working with retinol, start off with our Truth Retinol 1% gel and then graduate to our Truth Retinol 25% gel. All right, so I am now going to answer questions. I think I saw a couple questions. Hello, everybody. Okay, so Laura wants to know about Cushing. Cushing is an adrenal health challenge that's caused by excess cortisol. It's a lot of people are producing a lot of cortisol or excess cortisol because they're under stress. Cushing is an actual problem with the adrenal glands where they just crank out lots of cortisol. So it's much more severe than just ordinary hypercortisolemia, is what they call it. Best strategies for Cushing is to work on your digestive system. Cushing is an inflammatory condition that affects the adrenal glands, and anytime you have inflammation, you want to work on digestive health. Fasting can be helpful for the Cushing's patient. And then vitamin C is one of the great, great, great underappreciated adrenal nutrients. There's more vitamin C in the adrenal glands than there is in any other part of the body. Vitamin C is, vitamin C is unspeakably important. It's almost in a category of its own when it comes to micronutrients. We always hear about vitamin C for building collagen, and we hear about vitamin C for the skin, and we hear about vitamin C for the immune system. But what really is unrecognized, or not recognized as well as it should be, is that vitamin C is an anti-stress vitamin. It's a very important vitamin for the health of the adrenal glands and for helping the body handle stress. If you're under a lot of duress, your adrenal glands are going to be burning through vitamin C, and if you're not supplementing with vitamin C, you can certainly run into vitamin C deficiencies. If you're not supplementing with vitamin C, but you're under a lot of adrenal stress, and who isn't these days, especially if you have Cushing's disease, you may be running into vitamin C deficiencies that are showing up on your skin as things like pigmentation issues, for example, and we know that there's a relationship between adrenal duress and pigmentation, between Cushing's and pigmentation for that matter. So vitamin C is super important for the Cushing's patient. Zinc is also important for the Cushing's patient. I would use adrenal extract or liquid adrenal extract for any cortisol issues, and then relaxation strategies can help as well. And don't forget to work on digestive health issues to take care of that inflammation that causes the Cushing's in the first place. Linda, work on your fats. Linda says, I am postmenopausal and have milia, had it all through menopause. Work on your fats. Do everything we talked about in the first 10, 15 minutes or so of this video as far as fat malabsorption and also fatty nutrients. Hello, Susan. Hello, Robert. Robert says sunflower lecithin. Yeah, lecithin comes in, the two main forms of lecithin that you'll find in health food stores or on the internet are soy lecithin and sunflower lecithin. And sunflower is always preferable to soy. Soy is grown in all kinds of bizarre ways and with GMOs and heavy fertilizers because it's a cash crop. Sunflower lecithin doesn't have the same problems that soy does. And also look for organic sunflower lecithin. Always look for organic with anything that's botanical. In my opinion, organic veggies, organic herbs, anything that's botanical. You want to really make sure that you're not getting those pesticides that are associated with conventionally grown crops. Not that you're going to completely eliminate those toxins because the pesticides are in the soil and they're in the rain and they're even in the air. So it's really tough to get something that's pure organic, but it's certainly going to be better than conventionally grown crops, veggies and herbs. Okay, let's see here. Linda says on a statin drugs, that's not helping you, Linda. Statin drugs are crazy to me. It's just craziness. This idea that you can shut down cholesterol production, this idea that you can shut down any kind of production and be better off for it, when you can pharmacologically poison, and make no mistake about it, when you're shutting down production of cholesterol or you're stimulating production of insulin or you're doing any of these pharmacological strategies that prescription drugs compel your body to do, you are poisoning this God-given, amazingly divinely structured and divinely intelligent biological system. Not a good idea. And I'm not telling anybody to get off their drugs or what to do, but it just doesn't make sense to poison your body in the name of getting it healthier. Just my opinion as a registered pharmacist. And by the way, I do recognize there are times when drugs are valuable. Pain pills, for example, are incredibly important. Antibiotics obviously have a tremendous upside. They also have a downside. Pain pills, by the way, also have, as anybody who's been hooked on pain pills know, also have a downside. So even if you're getting an upside, and sometimes you do have an upside with prescription drugs, you're always going to be dealing with a downside. And that's just the way it is when we play around with Mother Nature. If we take care of ourselves in the first place, with the exception of mechanical trauma, when something falls on your head, you're not going to need a prescription drug, and that's ultimately the way we want to live our lives. We want to prevent a situation where we need to have a prescription drug. Antibiotics and pain pills sometimes are necessary, but certainly the statin drugs and the antihypertensives and the immune suppressant kinds of drugs, if we lived our lives the way we're supposed to, we're not going to need those. May says, can Udo's 369 cause breakouts? I took it for a couple of days and got a bunch of whiteheads on the forehead. That, I don't know. That's unlikely, I would say, but I'm not going to say impossible. The only way to know for sure is if you stop taking it and then you get better, and then you start taking it again and you get worse. So you want to go back and forth a few times just to make sure that's what the cause is, because Udo's 369 is incredibly important. It's highly unlikely, if you're absorbing your fats correctly, that 369 will cause breakouts. Almost impossible. I'm not going to say impossible because nothing's impossible, but it's pretty unlikely, May. Do you have, and I don't know if you're still on here, May, but if you are, let me know if you have any digestive issues, fat malabsorption issues, because that could have something to do with it. And if that's the case, then there are nutrients that you can, or there are supplements you can take with your Udos that will help you absorb them. All the fat absorbing supplements we talked about, lecithin and bile, etc., bile salts and digestive enzymes, etc. Also, mixing your Udos with some apple cider vinegar will help you absorb your Udos more effectively, and it tastes really good. And you can dip your veggies in there, make a nice oil and vinegar dressing with your Udos oil or Udos blend and apple cider vinegar. But shoot me a text here if you're still on, and let me know if you have experienced digestive problems. Linda says she uses her 1% Truth Retinol gel. Kristen, hi Kristen. I'm going to tell a story about Kristen. She called me up. Kristen called me up about a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago now, and she said, I have really sensitive skin. Can I use the Truth? And I said, absolutely, you can use the Truth. And I gave her some recommendations, and now Kristen is a loyal truther. So thank you, Kristen. I appreciate you sticking around with us and using the Truth and enjoying the Truth. And let me know, Kristen, how you're using the spot treatment if you're still on. I'd love to see that. Linda says she's using the everyday retinol. Linda says I use the 5% twice a week. Great. Robert knows his stuff. Robert has always got some smart things to say here. Poor gallbladder function is epidemic. Absolutely it is. Talk about it for us. It's part of the triangle of disease. Thank you, Robert. The triangle of disease. All right, maybe we'll talk about gallbladder and retinol. I'm going to try and talk about retinol next week, and then maybe I'll talk a little bit about the gallbladder. Is there anything that helps get rid of sebaceous hyperplasia? Ashley asked a great question. She says, is there anything that gets rid of sebaceous hyperplasia, right? So let's break that apart, okay? Let's take that term and we'll break it apart. By the way, when you have a disease, that's not really, the name of diseases, they're not really a thing. They're not really a noun as much as they are a verb. The name of diseases tells you what's happening in the body if you understand Latin and you understand medical speak. They don't, the modern medical model and medicine in general kind of mystifies biological processes that lead to our health challenges, and we get all thrown off by the terms and the names and the diagnoses and the nomenclature of our diseases. But if you really break the words apart, it can be instructive. It can kind of let you know how the disease is progressing and how to address it. So sebaceous hyperplasia, you got three parts there: sebaceous, hyper, and plasia, right? Plasia means growth. It comes from the same place we get the word plastic, to plasticize or to aplasia, I will say, P-L-A-S-I-A means growth. Hyperplasia, hypergrowth, right? Sebaceous hypergrowth. It means the cells of the sebum glands, the sebaceous glands, are hyperactive. So you've got a hyperproliferative state, a hyperproliferative condition. And this is what we've been talking about. Milia, let's just leave it at milia, but you can also say psoriasis, we can also say acne, but milia is a hyperproliferative condition. Sebaceous hyperplasia is a hyperproliferative condition. They're the same biological process that's gone awry. They're the same biochemical or biological dysfunction. Sebaceous hyperplasia, check this out, this is important what I'm going to say here. Sebaceous hyperplasia is milia of the sebaceous glands. Milia is sebaceous hyperplasia of the keratinocytes, of the skin cells. They're the same thing occurring in different parts of the skin. One's occurring in the sebaceous gland, or the sebocytes, technically. The other is occurring in the keratinocytes. But it's the same process. Please understand this. This is so important. Because once we understand that there's only a few things that go wrong with the body, but they happen in different places, it will simplify health dramatically. Hyperproliferation or hypoproliferation are the two main things that can go wrong in the body. Too much growth, too little growth. Too much cell division, too little cell division. Too much cell division is caused by the same things that we talked about earlier, nutritional deficiencies or malabsorption of those nutrients. That's it. Well, that is so important, you guys. Hyperproliferation, The overgrowth of cells is caused by nutritional deficiencies or malabsorption issues. Now, there's certainly hormones that are involved. Testosterone and estrogen have proliferative properties. They can make things divide. Insulin can make things divide. But if you backtrack from estrogen and from testosterone and insulin, you're going to come down to nutritional deficiencies and digestive problems. So just go to the digestive system, start supplementing with nutrients. Correct digestive issues, especially fat malabsorption, especially if you're getting older, but not just if you're getting older, and then also use nutritional supplements. Now, I should mention that insulin also plays a very important role in hyperproliferative conditions. Insulin, obviously, is your sugar hormone, and it shouldn't be hard to, let me put it this way. It's hard to control sugar intake, and it's hard ultimately to control your insulin, but it's not difficult. In other words, we don't like to do it. We don't want to do it because it's hard to resist sugar, but it's not a complex process. It's a simple process. It's hard, but it's not difficult. Okay, so it's hard for us to do, but the chemistry of reducing your insulin is very simple. Stop eating sugar and processed food. Practice intermittent fasting. I don't want to get too much into digression, but that's another thing you could do for sebaceous hyperplasia, Ashley. Reduce your caloric intake. Calories rev things up. Insulin revs things up. And I'm not going to get into this today, but I'm going to put this out there because you're going to start hearing about something in the coming months and even years. It's something called mTOR. And that's little m, capital T, O, capital O, capital R. Little m, capital T, capital O, capital R. mTOR. It stands for, it's a mouthful, mammalian, some people will say mechanistic, target of rapamycin. And I'm not going to get into it, but I'm just going to put it out there because you're going to start to hear about it. mTOR speeds things up. It's associated with insulin. It's why elevated insulin is associated with so many health problems, especially hyperproliferative ones. So keep your sugar down. And then, of course, there's also insulin-supporting nutrients, Ashley Vaughn. And Ashley, if you do want some more specific information, send an email. And anybody who's listening, if you want me to elaborate on anything or have a specific problem, send an email to support@truthtreatments.com. Support@truthtreatments.com. And it would help if you put your phone number there, and I'll call you, and we can address whatever subject you have. All right, let's see. Peggy, I love you too. Thank you, Peggy Miller. I appreciate that. Amazing health analogy, which I can't fully remember. I think water is the... Oh, you like that? Oh, Liam, isn't that good? Okay, so I'm not... yeah, I don't know if I want to get into that too much, but yes, oxygen and water play a very important role in how energy is produced inside of cells. It's called electron transport, and that's that metaphor, Liam. I don't want to get too much into biochemistry. I'm glad you appreciate it, though, because it is a really cool metaphor. When I first thought of it, I was impressed myself because it's so perfect with oxygen being the engine and the electrons on the rail cars. Oxygen pulls these electrons as if the electrons were the cars on the train, the rail cars, and oxygen is the engine. It pulls it along. It all occurs on rails, which are made of water. And this whole process is my metaphor for something called electron transport. That's really in the weeds there, Liam, but I'm glad you appreciate it because I appreciated it too when it came to me. Sometimes these ideas come to me and I don't even know where they come from. But as soon as it came to me, I appreciated it as well. Thank you, Liam, for catching that. Do you recommend using your omega-6 product after retinol? Heck, yes. You know what I do? I mix them together. I mix my retinol with my omega-6 healing cream. Very, very small amounts, of course. You guys know all that by now. Very small amounts of omega-6 and retinol. Blend them together. You don't have to blend them together. You can use them the next day. But I use my omega-6 every day. I use my retinol once or twice a week. And then I'll blend my omega-6. In addition to using it every day, I'll blend my omega-6 in with my retinol. So yes, they're a perfect pair. They work wonderfully together. Is there anything else? Kim says, sebaceous hyperplasia. I hope Kim, and also Ashley, I hope my explanation on sebaceous hyperplasia made sense. Peggy, digestive enzymes are a little tricky. I like Now super enzymes, NOW super enzymes. Youngevity, I love the Youngevity products. Youngevity also has a great digestive enzyme called the Ultimate Enzymes. But, excuse me, digestive enzymes, like probiotics, you're going to have to play around with the dose. You're going to have to play around with the brand. and you're also going to have to play around with when you take your ultimate enzymes or digestive enzymes. I personally take mine with apple cider vinegar, either with my meal or after my meal. Some people like to take it before their meal. You have to play around with that a little bit. Ashley, did that help you? I see you say thank you, so I hope that helped you, Ashley. Kristen says, my daughter uses the spot treatment on her face and has completely controlled the acne on her forehead and chin. The results have been unbelievable. And my teen, Kristen, now your teen is a believer too. That's great. I use the spot treatment on occasional milia I get. Thank you for sharing that. Kristen, who's a wonderful truther. Thank you, Kristen. She says she's using the retinol on milia and she's getting great results. So thank you for sharing that. May says she stopped taking her Udos for a couple days and now it's a lot better. Start taking it again, May, and see what happens. That's what I would do. Start taking it. If that's the case, and you find that you start taking it again and you get the problem, you get the skin problems again, then you may have a malabsorption issue, because the 369 essential fats should not do that to you. 369, and basically it's the 3 and the 6 that are essential. The 9 is not essential. They're absolutely must-haves. You have to have 3 and you have to have 6. That being said, when you see something says omega-6, omega-3, it really means it has an oil that contains omega-6 or omega-3. You're never going to get just omega-6 and omega-3. You'll get an oil that contains omega-6 and omega-3. And the reason that's important is because with the oil, you're going to get other substances that may be problematic for you. So it's hard to say with an oil, although I will tell you that's very unlikely with Udos. Nothing's impossible, though. So take it again, see if you get your condition. If you get the condition back, then start using digestive enzymes and other fat-supporting nutrients. Maybe let me know if you have an intestinal or digestive issue that you know of. Linda says, should I get off a statin drug? I would never tell you to get off a drug. I will tell you the problems associated with drugs, but you have to do that for yourself. I can't tell you to get off of a drug. And not only that, and this is important too, because when a doctor is working with you, or when you're working with a doctor, there's a relationship that you have that nobody should be butting into, including me. So if you're working with a physician, that physician puts you on a statin drug, or that physician recommends a surgical procedure, or that physician makes a diagnosis, it's not appropriate for me or anyone else to interfere with that relationship. That is a sacred bond that you have with your physician. Now, you don't have to listen to everything your physician says. You have to use your own ability to critically think. And I don't ever recommend anybody just listens to anybody, including me. I don't want you just listening to me. I want you doing your own research. As Ronald Reagan said, trust yet verify. Check everything out. So you don't have to absolutely do everything your doctor says. If he says you're on a drug, sometimes people tell me, my doctor made me, my doctor, how do they put it? They say, my doctor put me on this medication, right? As if he's just giving you, he's blessing you or he's cursing you with some kind of prescription drug. It's not like that. You have a choice in what to do. That being said, once you have a relationship with your physician, it is the height of rudeness and very unethical for another medical professional, namely me, to interfere with that relationship, and I would never do it. So I hope I'm clear on that. Antonia says she had a gallbladder move now. Her liver is a bit oily. Okay. Yes, Antonia, there's no bile enzymes, but bile end enzymes will definitely work, and you should be on them for sure. Get yourself on a good bile supplement, ox bile or bile salts, and get yourself on a good digestive enzyme supplement that features lipases. And personally, I would also throw in pancreatin, and then all the other things we talked about: apple cider vinegar and lecithin, and also what was the other one? Lecithin and taurine, the amino acid taurine. All of these can have a beneficial effect on your ability to absorb fats if you've had your gallbladder removed. The gallbladder, just real quick here, we talked earlier about how food goes in your stomach and then it drops into your intestine. Well, you also have next to your stomach something called the gallbladder, which is a bag of bile, and that gallbladder is connected to the liver and to the intestine. And bile is made in the liver, it goes into the gallbladder where it's stored, and then when you eat food, when that food drops into the intestine, the gallbladder dumps its bile out. If you don't have that gallbladder, now you're going to get some bile still. You're not going to have zero bile, but you're going to get very small amounts of bile coming in from the liver. So without a gallbladder, you don't get that big, huge hit of bile that you should get, and that can really run into create a lot of problems further downstream. So absolutely, those are things you want to do. Plus, don't forget your fatty nutrients you want to start supplementing, make sure you're supplementing with fatty nutrients. Let's see here. And I think that is it. Let me see if I have a condition. Dawn, what is your skin condition? Or you want to call, you can send an email, support@Truth Treatments. If you don't want to mention it here, Dawn, send an email to support@Truth Treatments. I'll see if I can help you. Claire, I have your Regenerix. The LED Pro device, that's the mask I think you're talking about. You can use it twice a week. There's really no, you can use as much as you want, but twice a week is great. Can you write a list of the supplements? Antonia, send an email to support@Truth Treatments. I'll write a little blog post on that. But before I get to that, because it might take me a couple weeks to get to that, Antonia, send an email to support@Truth Treatments, and I'll jot those down for you. And I think that's it here. No more questions. All right, you guys, thank you so much for all your love and support. I'm very grateful, and thank you all for being loyal truthers. This will be on our Facebook page, and also I'm going to try, I'll have it on YouTube today, sometime today. And then tomorrow, or next week, we'll talk about retinol, which I absolutely love. I know we've talked about it before, but I'll answer questions on retinol, and we'll talk generally about retinol and how to use it and what it is and the differences between the types of vitamin A. And we'll do that on our next Facebook Live next Saturday. All right. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Have yourselves a beautiful, awesome day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye for now.